What happens when the people you call family on national television turn out to be running a completely different playbook than everyone else? Love Island USA Season 7 introduced us to Nicolandria, with Nic and Olandria becoming the couple fans couldn't stop rooting for. We watched Ace call Nic his brother, saw Chelley and Olandria form what looked like an unbreakable soul-sister bond, and witnessed all the drama unfold on this Peacock dating show. Taylor was caught between connections, Huda got sent home in controversial fashion, and Sierra Ortega stirred up chaos that had everyone talking. The villa gave us romance, friendship, and what we thought were genuine bonds that would last beyond the cameras. But once the Love Island reunion wrapped and everyone went back to real life, something shifted. Chelley's advice during the whole Olandria and Taylor situation started looking less supportive and more suspicious. Ace went on podcasts openly questioning whether Nicolandria was even authentic, which felt like a knife in the back after everything. Then came the perfectly produced couple announcement that looked more like a corporate product launch than two people in love. This deep dive is going to expose every calculated move, every questionable decision, and every receipt that makes you wonder if Ace and Chelley were ever really friends to Nic and Olandria, or if they were just building their empire the whole time while everyone else played for keeps.
Real quick before we get into this mess, hit that subscribe button because unlike certain islanders, I'm not about to ghost you for a brand deal. Just pure, unfiltered tea with zero strategy involved. Now let's expose this situation.
The moment Olandria and Chelley stepped into the Love Island USA villa as the first two islanders of Season 7, something clicked between them. Not just casual friendship, but the kind of instant connection that makes you believe in soulmates. They weren't shy about it either. Chelley told Olandria straight up that she wasn't getting rid of her, that they were stuck together forever, that nothing could break what they had. Soul sisters became their identity. And honestly, it looked real. Olandria opened up about things she probably hadn't told many people. Being seen as the strong woman who can handle everything alone gets exhausting. She shared her fears, her vulnerabilities, her desire for someone who actually saw beyond the surface. And Chelley was right there through all of it, playing the role of supportive best friend so convincingly that viewers ate it up.
Then you had Ace and Nic developing their own brotherhood. Ace didn't use that word lightly either. He made it clear repeatedly that Nic wasn't just some guy he met on a show. This was his actual brother, the kind of relationship that transcends reality television and continues when everyone goes home. Ace positioned himself as Nic's biggest supporter, always hyping up Nicolandria, always talking about how much he loved them as a couple, always making sure everyone knew that his loyalty to Nic was unshakable. He played that hype man role with so much conviction that it seemed impossible to fake. These friendships didn't just look genuine during the season, they felt genuine, because the villa creates this pressure cooker environment where emotions run high and bonds form fast. You're isolated from the outside world, surrounded by cameras, dealing with romantic drama and competition, and the people who have your back become everything. Viewers invested in these connections because why wouldn't they? The tears looked real when someone got eliminated, the celebrations felt authentic when couples stayed together, the late-night conversations where they shared their deepest thoughts seemed too raw to be manufactured. Nobody had any reason to doubt that when Love Island Season 7 ended, these friendships would be just as strong as the romantic relationships everyone formed.
But reality television shows you what producers want you to see in the moment. They craft narratives that feel complete while you're watching. The truth about who people really are, what they actually want, and how genuine their connections were only comes out later. When everyone left that villa and returned to their actual lives, away from producers and scheduled activities in the bubble of the show, that's when the foundation started cracking. Not small hairline fractures that you could explain away as normal friendship evolution either. We're talking full structural collapse that made people go back and rewatch the season wondering if any of it was ever real in the first place.
The whole Taylor drama is where Chelley's actions started raising massive red flags that fans couldn't ignore. Taylor entered the villa and immediately showed interest in both Olandria and Chelley. Classic Love Island situation where one person tries to keep their options open. Olandria read the situation early and made what seemed like a healthy, self-respecting choice. She saw the red flags, recognized that Taylor wasn't giving her what she deserved, and decided to walk away completely. She was done with him, ready to move on and explore other connections that might actually lead somewhere real.
But then Chelley stepped in with advice that completely changed Olandria's approach. Instead of supporting her friend's decision to protect herself, Chelley started playing devil's advocate. She reminded Olandria that Taylor supposedly wanted to keep her there, that he was still open to exploring their connection, that maybe she shouldn't give up so quickly. Chelley convinced her that no matter what other connections she might make in the villa, none of them would compare to what she had with Taylor. Think about how powerful that message is coming from your soul sister, someone you trust more than anyone else in that environment. So Olandria, believing Chelley had her best interests at heart, went back to Taylor and asked him directly how he planned to navigate pursuing both of them simultaneously.
Taylor's response should have been another red flag. Vague reassurances, non-committal promises about figuring it out, saying he wanted to explore both connections without giving any actual plan for how that would work. And then he proceeded to do absolutely nothing to pursue Olandria. She waited patiently, giving him the chance Chelley convinced her to give. She watched him put effort into other connections while barely acknowledging hers. She gave him space to figure out what he wanted. And it went nowhere, because Taylor had already made up his mind, he just hadn't told anyone yet.
When Olandria finally confronted the situation directly and demanded honesty, she learned something that probably hurt worse than just being rejected. Taylor admitted he was never actually attracted to Olandria. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, not ever. The entire time Chelley was encouraging her to keep trying, to not give up, to believe that what they had was special, Taylor had already decided in his mind that there was no romantic interest there at all. He was just keeping his options open in case something better didn't come along, which is exactly the kind of treatment Olandria was smart enough to walk away from initially before Chelley talked her back into it.
Here's what makes this whole situation even more suspicious when you really think about it. Chelley was close with Taylor. They had their own connection forming, their own chemistry developing, their own private conversations happening. So the question becomes unavoidable. Did Chelley know that Taylor wasn't actually into Olandria when she gave that advice? Did she have conversations with Taylor where he made his true feelings clear and then turned around and encouraged Olandria to keep pursuing someone who was never going to choose her? Because if Chelley knew, if she had any indication that Taylor's interest wasn't genuine, then her advice wasn't about helping her soul sister find love. It was about keeping Olandria occupied and distracted while Chelley solidified her own position with Taylor without competition. Even worse, Olandria reveals something that makes Chelley's advice look even more calculated and contradictory. During that same conversation where Chelley was telling her not to give up on Taylor, she also said the complete opposite. Matter of fact, forget Taylor, like she was dismissing the whole thing. But then, in the same breath, literally moments later, turned around and told her she should still pursue him and see where it goes. That's not a friend giving confused advice while trying to figure out the right thing to say. That's someone giving contradictory guidance specifically designed to keep you spinning in circles, second-guessing yourself, unable to make a clear decision while they position themselves exactly where they want to be.
A real soul sister, someone who actually has your back unconditionally, would have told Olandria to walk away and never look back. You don't encourage your girl to keep chasing someone who's lukewarm about her, especially when you know she deserves better. And you definitely don't do that when you're also interested in that same person and building your own connection with them behind the scenes. That's not protecting your friend's heart. That's protecting your own interests while making it look like you care about hers. The pattern was there from the beginning. People just didn't see it until later when all the pieces came together.
If you needed more evidence that Chelley's loyalty was conditional at best and completely fake at worst, the entire Sierra Ortega situation lays it out in black and white. The kiss between Sierra and Chelley became this whole talking point that fans analyzed from every angle during the season. But honestly, the kiss isn't even the main issue here. What really exposed Chelley's true character was everything that happened after Love Island USA Season 7 ended, and everyone went back to their regular lives. Sierra came out publicly on social media bashing Nic. Not subtle shade where you have to read between the lines, not vague posts that could be about anyone, direct, explicit criticism of Nic specifically while defending other Islanders and making her position crystal clear. Sierra made it obvious she wasn't Team Nicolandria. She had specific issues with Nic, specific problems with how he conducted himself, and she wasn't hiding those feelings from anyone. Her comments and posts were pointed, intentional, and designed to paint Nic in a negative light while building up the people she did support.
And what was Chelley doing during all this? Still hanging out with Sierra regularly. Still posting pictures with her on social media. Still maintaining that close friendship and giving Sierra a platform through association, despite Sierra actively going after Nic publicly where everyone could see it. If Chelley really considered Nic her brother through Ace, if she really valued that connection and respected what she claimed they had, how do you justify maintaining a close friendship with someone who's publicly dragging him? How do you reconcile calling Olandria your soul sister while staying best friends with someone attacking her boyfriend and trying to damage his reputation? You can't claim neutrality when your actions show exactly whose side you're on. Friendship isn't about staying neutral when someone you supposedly love is being attacked unfairly. You don't have to get messy yourself. You don't have to engage in public feuds or create more drama. But you also don't continue giving your time, your platform, and your public support to someone who's actively harming people you claim are family.
The pattern becomes impossible to ignore when you look at all of Chelley's moves together as a complete picture instead of isolated incidents. Questionable advice about Taylor's that served her interest more than Olandria's well-being. Contradictory messages designed to keep Olandria confused and second-guessing herself. Maintaining close friendship with Sierra despite her openly criticizing and attacking Nic on multiple platforms. These aren't random, disconnected events that just happen to occur. They're a consistent pattern of conditional loyalty where Chelley showed up for Olandria only when it was convenient, only when it didn't conflict with her own goals, only when supporting her friend didn't require any actual sacrifice or difficult choices.
Real friendship requires sacrifice sometimes. It means standing up for people even when it costs you something. It means making hard choices between conflicting relationships and being honest about where your priorities lie. Chelley wanted the benefits of being seen as Olandria's soul sister without any of the responsibilities that come with that bond. She wanted the positive association, the supportive friend narrative, the good optics of having these deep connections. But when Olandria needed real friendship that required Chelley to sacrifice her own comfort or interests, suddenly that soul sister bond wasn't strong enough to matter anymore. Quick timeout because we're only halfway through and somehow it gets even messier from here. If you're invested in this Love Island USA drama, do me a solid and subscribe because these numbers are making me feel lonelier than a Casa Amor reject. Help your boy out.
During Love Island USA Season 7, while cameras were rolling, Ace definitely had his share of controversy that fans picked up on immediately. People called him controlling with how he handled certain situations. They accused him of manipulating dynamics to benefit himself and the people he wanted to protect. The vote that ended up sending Huda home raised serious eyebrows and had viewers questioning his motives and methods. His approach to relationships and friendships in the villa often felt strategic rather than organic, like every move was calculated 3 steps ahead instead of just going with the flow and seeing what happened naturally. But through all of that controversy, Ace positioned himself brilliantly as the good guy who just cared too much, the loyal friend who maybe came on too strong sometimes but always meant well, the brother figure who had everyone's back even when his methods were questionable. He made absolutely sure that cameras caught him supporting Nic constantly, hyping up Nicolandria at every opportunity, talking about how much he loved them both and considered them family.
He played that role so convincingly that even people who had concerns about his controlling behavior still believed the friendship with Nic was genuine and would outlast any villa drama.
Then rumors started circulating that couldn't be ignored or dismissed easily. Whispers about Ace and Chelley having some kind of connection before the show even started filming. Nothing definitively confirmed with hard evidence at first, but enough smoke that people started seriously wondering if there was fire underneath. Fans went back through social media histories, analyzed timelines, looked for any evidence of previous interaction. Some claim they found proof that Ace and Chelley knew each other before walking into that villa, that their romance wasn't this spontaneous love-at-first-sight situation that happened organically on camera. If those rumors have any truth to them, if Ace and Chelley had some kind of understanding or relationship or even just awareness of each other before Love Island USA Season 7 started filming, that changes literally everything about their entire narrative. It transforms their love story from two strangers who found unexpected connection in an unusual environment to two people who might have been working together from day one with a specific plan in mind. It makes every decision they made, every alliance they formed, every friendship they cultivated look less like authentic relationship building and more like strategic positioning to come out on top.
The villa dynamics suddenly make way more sense when you consider that possibility seriously. Ace's protective behavior toward Chelley throughout the season, the way they always seemed perfectly aligned on major decisions without having to discuss things extensively. How their romance developed smoothly and without major obstacles, while other couples struggled through constant drama and miscommunication. How they both positioned themselves as central figures in multiple friend groups and relationship dynamics. If they had pre-existing ties, if they walked in already knowing they wanted to work together, then every single move wasn't about finding genuine love or building authentic friendships. It was about positioning themselves as the couple everyone would remember, the ones who'd get the most attention, the ones who'd come out with the biggest platform and best opportunities. Ace's control issues, that fans picked up on throughout the season, suddenly look less like personality flaws or someone who just cares too intensely and more like strategic gameplay from someone with specific goals beyond finding connection. When you're trying to manage outcomes in your favor, when you have objectives that require certain people staying or leaving at specific times, you start controlling situations however you can. You influence votes in directions that benefit your position. You manage relationships to maintain the alliances you need. You present yourself in ways that serve your ultimate goals, rather than just being authentically yourself. And if that means some viewers label you as controlling or manipulative, well, that's just the cost of winning. You can deal with that reputation later, once you've secured everything you wanted from the experience.
After Love Island USA Season 7 ended and everyone returned to their regular lives, Ace had the absolute perfect opportunity to prove that his loyalty to Nic was genuine and meant something beyond the show. Real brothers support each other when cameras stop rolling. They defend each other in interviews when people try to tear them down. They keep private conversations and vulnerable moments private instead of using them for content. They have your back unconditionally because that's what brotherhood actually means. That's the relationship Ace claimed he and Nic had built, the bond he talked about constantly during the season.
Instead, Ace chose a completely different path that revealed his true priorities. He started going on podcasts and openly questioning whether Nicolandria was even real, not defending them against critics, not supporting his supposed brother during a vulnerable time when their relationship was under public scrutiny, questioning their authenticity directly, expressing doubts about whether their connection was genuine, making himself the judge and jury of their entire relationship. The audacity of that move becomes wild when you remember how many times Ace called Nic his brother in the villa, how many speeches he gave about loving Nicolandria and being there for them forever, how many times he said he'd have their backs no matter what happened after they left LI. Real brothers don't go on public platforms and cast doubt on your relationship where millions of people can hear it. If Ace genuinely had concerns about Nicolandria, if he thought something seemed off or had questions about their authenticity, he had Nic's phone number. They could have talked privately, had an honest conversation between brothers, worked through whatever concerns existed without making it public content. But that's not what Ace chose to do. He chose to make Nic's relationship into material for podcast appearances that would get him attention and keep him relevant in the Love Island USA conversation. He used his so-called brother's love story as content to boost his own platform and maintain his visibility. That's not concern for a friend. That's not brotherly protection. That's using someone you claimed was family to make yourself more interesting and generate buzz around your own name.
The timing of everything makes it even more suspicious and calculated when you lay it all out chronologically. Right after those podcast interviews where he's throwing shade at Nicolandria and questioning their authenticity publicly, what happens next? Ace and Chelley officially announced they're a couple with a rollout so polished it could have been planned by a professional marketing team. The announcement video was immediate and everywhere. Professional quality cinematography that looked like it cost serious money, romantic background music perfectly timed to emotional moments, coordinated outfits that looked styled rather than casual, cinematic shots that required actual planning and equipment. Within literal hours of posting, the Shade Room had reposted their announcement to millions of followers. Ebony Magazine ran a feature about them. Their comment sections flooded with attention from people who might never have watched Love Island but recognized the opportunity to follow a new couple with buzz.
It looked less like two people in love wanting to share their happiness and more like a carefully orchestrated brand launch designed for maximum impact and visibility. Every single element felt calculated for attention. The timing of when they posted, the platforms they chose to announce on, the way they coordinated their captions and tags, the professional quality of the content itself. This wasn't spontaneous at all. This was strategic marketing for brand Ace and Chelley, positioning themselves as the Love Island USA power couple that everyone needed to follow and pay attention to. Compare that approach to how Nicolandria shared their relationship with fans in the world. Way more organic and casual in presentation, more focused on each other than creating perfect content, less concerned with maximizing visibility, and more interested in just being happy together. The difference in approach tells you everything you need to know about priorities and what each couple actually values. When your goal is genuine connection and building something real, you share your relationship because you're excited and happy and want people to celebrate with you. When your goal is building a brand and creating a platform, you create a rollout strategy that maximizes visibility and ensures the right outlets pick up your story. Right after publicly doubting Nicolandria and damaging Nic's reputation, right after Sierra had been going after Nic on social media with Shelley's apparent approval through continued friendship, right when heat was building on Ace for his questionable villa moves and controlling behavior, suddenly, here comes this perfectly packaged couple reveal. It felt like a classic distraction technique straight out of a PR playbook. Shift focus from valid criticism by giving people something positive and shiny to talk about instead. Control the narrative before it controls you. Redirect attention to your love story so people forget about your betrayals and calculated moves. And honestly, it worked to some degree because plenty of people celebrated the announcement and moved on from deeper questions. But fans who were paying close attention saw straight through the timing and strategy. Strategic timing isn't coincidence. It's calculation, pure and simple. When you lay out all the evidence side by side in one complete picture, patterns emerge that become impossible to ignore or explain away as misunderstandings. Olandria gave Chelley absolutely everything a friend could possibly give. Unwavering support through every situation. Complete trust with her deepest vulnerabilities and fears. Loyalty, even when things got complicated and uncomfortable. She defended Chelley, celebrated her wins, supported her connections, and treated that soul sister bond like it actually meant something permanent. And what did Chelley give back in return?
conditional friendship that only showed up when convenient, support that disappeared the moment it conflicted with her own interests, advice that consistently served Shelley's position more than Olandria's well-being, loyalty that vanished completely when maintaining it would have required actual sacrifice or difficult choices.
Nic gave Ace the full brotherhood treatment without reservation. He trusted him completely with everything, defended him when other Islanders and fans criticized his behavior and called him controlling, treated him like actual family rather than just someone he met on a reality show. Nic saw the best in Ace, even when others questioned his motives and methods. And what did Ace give back? He played the role beautifully while cameras were rolling because it benefited his position and made him look like a loyal friend. But once the show ended, and maintaining that loyalty might potentially hurt his own image or make his own situation more complicated, Ace switched up completely and showed his true colors. He transformed from the supportive brother into someone judging Nic's relationship publicly. He became the person using Nic's connection for podcast content and attention instead of protecting his brother's privacy and defending him against criticism.
And Ace and Chelley together as a couple, their relationship might actually be genuine on some level. They might truly care about each other beyond just strategic partnership. But the way they've positioned themselves publicly, the timing of their major announcements, their treatment of both Nic and Olandria throughout this entire process, the strategic nature of literally every move they've made, it all points to something way more calculated than just two people who fell for each other organically and wanted to share that with the world. Every decision they've made has elevated themselves while diminishing the people they claimed were family.
That's not love getting in the way of friendship or natural evolution of relationships. That's ambition getting in the way of loyalty in the most obvious way possible. There's a massive difference between growing apart naturally as people's lives change and actively choosing to undermine people for your own benefit and advancement. Ace and Chelley didn't just drift away from Nic and Olandria because of busy schedules or different life paths. They made calculated decisions that directly hurt Nic and Olandria while simultaneously boosting their own public image and building their brand as Love Island's power couple. The receipts show crystal clear that Chelley was never truly the soul sister she claimed to be throughout the season. The advice, the contradictions, the continued friendship with people attacking Olandria's partner, all of it reveals someone who used that bond for her own purposes. Ace was never actually the brother he pretended to be in the villa. The moment supporting Nic conflicted with his own goals, that brotherhood disappeared like it never existed. And together, they prioritized becoming the couple everyone talked about over maintaining friendships they swore would last forever and mean everything to them.
They gave incredible optics that looked perfect on camera. They gave strategic gameplay that positioned them exactly where they wanted to be. They gave carefully curated content designed for maximum impact and visibility. But what they didn't give was authenticity in their friendships. They didn't give real loyalty when it mattered most. They didn't give genuine support that required sacrifice. What they gave was performance art, and once the performance ended, so did the relationships that no longer served their bigger picture.
So here's where everything lands after examining all the evidence and patterns. Chelley and Olandria's soul sister bond turned out to be completely one-sided, with Olandria giving everything, while Chelley only took what benefited her position and goals. Ace and Nic's brotherhood was performance art that ended the moment cameras stopped rolling, and maintaining it became inconvenient for Ace's image and platform. And Ace and Chelley as a couple, maybe they're genuinely in love with each other. Maybe their connection is real beyond just strategic partnership. But the way they've handled their relationship publicly, the suspicious timing of every announcement, their treatment of both Nic and Olandria throughout this process, the calculated nature of every single move they've made, it all points to something way more strategic than just two people falling for each other and sharing their happiness.
It looks like two people who recognized an opportunity to build something bigger than friendship or even love. An opportunity to create a brand that would outlast the show and give them the platform they actually wanted.
The question isn't whether Ace and Chelley actually like each other or have chemistry together. The question is whether they ever valued loyalty and authenticity as much as they valued building their brand and positioning themselves as Love Island USA's ultimate power couple that everyone would remember. Based on all the receipts, the patterns of behavior, the timing of events, and how they've treated the people they called family, the answer looks pretty clear. They chose ambition over loyalty every single time a choice presented itself. But what do you think about this entire situation? Are Ace and Chelley just misunderstood people who made some mistakes but ultimately meant well? Or were they playing a strategic game from the very beginning, using friendships as tools to advance themselves while everyone else played for authentic connections? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I genuinely want to hear every perspective on this mess.
And if you actually made it this far into my deep dive analysis, you're clearly as invested in this Love Island USA drama as I am. So subscribe so we can keep dissecting reality TV chaos together and exposing the strategic moves everyone else misses. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. And stick around because Love Island USA always delivers drama worth discussing. And I'll be right here breaking down every messy moment as it happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.